Justice not just legal part 4 in audio. I did not take that route and no one knows that to this day. I am grateful for the secret Dave, it may be a piece to the puzzle. Ben is very pleased with his visit with Dave. Life at the barn is going along neatly and the young trio is in delight with the animals. The joy is mostly with each other though. Both of the little girls think Kit is very neat. Kit is thrilled with both of the little girls. Kit stands for some time. He is looking at Sarah. He analyzes her from head to toe. Pepper Lace is watching Kit. Kit, you had better not try such a thing. Sarah would rip you apart at your seams. Kit turns to Pepper Lace with shame and panic. You are weird, you really knew what I. Kit looks down at his feet. He is so embarrassed. He had never known anyone that knew what he was thinking. He looks back up at Pepper Lace. I am very sorry, I would never do anything to disgrace or hurt you two little girls. I hope you can believe me. Yes, I believe you, Kit. It is normal for boys to think that way, but it gets them into a heap of trouble and it is not lasting. Love is so much more wonderful and lasting, it lasts forever and you can enjoy both of us that way. A big smile spreads across Kit's face. You know a lot about boys, you are a very wise and loving little girl, you could have shamed me but you didn't, you are very kind. I wish the two of you could stay for a few days, we could ride the horses back in the forest. It is very beautiful and peaceful. I know you both would enjoy it and I would be a well-mannered gentleman, I would just think about the love I have. When the trio gets up to the house, Kit goes to Ben. I have asked Pepper Lace and Sarah to stay with us for a few days, you think it would be okay? I don't know, Kit. Sarah will need to talk to her mother and Pepper Lace goes where Sarah goes. I really cannot spare the girls now, they are my camera crew. Sarah's mother wants pictures of all we do. Sarah may have pictures of all that has gone on since we got here. Oh no, really? Kit turns to Sarah. You didn't, did you? Yes, I have a lot of pictures but it is not to hurt anyone. I have secret cameras. Dave speaks in a teasing way. Sarah, you just might keep Kit out of mischief, you may keep him on that straight and narrow. Crimson seeps into Kit's face, and Sarah speaks softly, I am very sorry, Kit, I would do nothing to shame you, it hurts me when you are embarrassed, Kit. With a soft loving smile Kit looks at Sarah. I know you wouldn't, Sarah, you and Pepper Lace are the kindest little girls I have ever known, my grandfather is probably right, you two would keep me straight. Dave is pleased with Kit. Kit means every word he speaks, there is kindness that Dave has not seen in his grandson before. It all ends with Ben's promise to Kit, he will bring the girls back to spend a week with Kit, it will be after they solved the problem with Kyle and Cynthia. Both little girls are looking forward to that time. Both of the little girls give Kit a long-lasting hug, it is a time that Kit will never forget, it is joy beyond his imagination. Those words Pepper Lace spoke echoes in his head, it gets them into a heap of trouble and it is not lasting. Love is so much more wonderful and lasting, it lasts forever, and you can enjoy both of us that way. Kit truly savors those words, he loves both of them, it is a memory that will be with him always. Now we will look in on Kyle's problems. He is the fugitive on the run. Kyle has raced through the forest and he is very tired now, he is out of view, he had put distance between him and those back on the road. He slows his pace as thoughts race through Kyle's mind, he knows Dave will not pursue him. Kyle feels depressed, he had hurt Dave and Dave was truly his friend, he will make it up to Dave someday, somehow, he won't be a fugitive all his life, he will find a way, he must get those monkeys off his back. A pleasant thought floats into Kyle's mind, the teen phantom, he needs to get a letter to her, she is very clever, she could help him. Everyone he knows thinks the teen phantom is a boy, but he knows she likes it that way, it is easy for her to hide her identity. He has never told anyone that the teen phantom is a girl. He thinks of her as the phantom girl and someday he hopes to meet her. Kyle has not tried to imagine what she looks like, it didn't matter, her spirit is beautiful, he is sure she is much older than he is, he will miss reading her column. He views life just as she does, he feels close to her, it doesn't matter what her age is, she could be as old as his mother is but he would still feel the same toward her. She could even be colored, that would make no difference. She cannot be more than 18 though, but she could be crippled or blind, that would make no difference with him either, that could be the reason she hides her identity, but he would just love her more. Now he needs to know what his next move should be. If he had his bow and arrows his major problem would be solved. It is a beauty, it will do him no good to think about it, it is in his room at home. Kyle will need to make it on grass and ants and a few plants are good to eat. He knows a lot about survival but without a knife and matches for fire it will be very difficult. Perhaps he could find a piece of flint, he could make it okay with that. A brilliant thought comes to Kyle, he could find a wealthy family in the foothills, and he could borrow the things he needs and he can pay them back later. Another thought came to Kyle, it is a scary one, he needs to find a creek to fool those hounds, as they are likely to send them after him, he could be in big trouble. Then he has another thought, maybe they will not be that concerned about finding him, after all they knew he was not dangerous, at least Dave knew he wasn't. They may think he will die of hunger and thirst, he doesn't have a way to carry water, he had not thought about water. It worries him a bit, but he knew he would find a way to survive. Kyle still fears the hounds that they may send after him. There are no creeks in this area, he couldn't fool the hounds that way. A strange thought comes to Kyle, he has never heard of such a thing, it would be a gross thing to do but it just might work. He is on a deer trail, it will not be difficult to gather up a lot of those little marbles. He starts filling his pockets with the little marbles as he goes along. They are not plentiful, then he finds a place where the deer have gathered, and he fills his pockets. Now he needs some water. He must take his chances, he will sneak down to a house and get some water. It takes a while, Kyle finally finds a house that has a few 6-packs of bottled water on the back porch. No one is home, there are no cars. He grabs a 6-pack of bottled water, and heads back up into the forest on the run. He mixes the little marbles with water, it is a gooey mess, it has a potent smell, it is much worse after mixed with water. Kyle rubs the gooey mess into his skin over most of his body, then he rubs it on his shoes and his clothes. Those bloodhounds would think he turned into a deer. Kyle ends up with a good supply of water, now all he needs is some food. He has an urge to head for the high country, but he realizes he must take his chances of being caught, as he must stick close to civilization, he needs to equip himself for the high country, if he doesn't play this right, it will all be loss of effort, he will die, as they want him to. Kyle has always wanted to roam the high country of Colorado. It has some nice lakes, he had seen some neat pictures. Kyle has dreamed of what he is about to do, it would be a heap nicer if he were not a fugitive, and it was not with borrowed gear, he knew he would make it in the end, he would just need to keep his courage up, it mattered not what happens, he must think positive. Kyle does not even have a jackknife. He finds a good arrow some hunter couldn't find, it is stuck in a limb 10 feet or more from the ground. He has to climb the tree to get it, it will work for cutting some things. He tucks it in under his belt, it sticks out back so he will not cut himself on it. Later Kyle comes across a circle of rocks, it's a fire ring that campers had fires here in the past. Here he finds him a nice stick 4.5 feet long, it will be useful to him, it is sort of like a rustic cane, it is some kind of hard wood. Kyle spends the first night in a hollow tree, some would call it a snag, it is dead, the cavity is small but it is easy to keep warm in it, he finds some dry sticks and brush to close the opening, it is far warmer than in the open air. It is difficult dealing with the stench, but he might get used to it, and after a good while he does. The comfort is nothing like his bed at home, and he is very eager to move out at daybreak. It is the next day, it's in the afternoon. Kyle finds himself looking down on a little valley. It is a nice little spread. There is a house, barn, nice corral, a few horses, and a burrow. It is a well-kept little spread. There is no activity, there is no one in view. Kyle decides to go up the mountain in back where there is a rock outcrop, and from there he will keep watch on the house. From there he will work out his strategy. It would sure be nice if he had his binoculars. Kyle had not planned to steal anything, he will just borrow it, he will pay them back later when he can. He doesn't know when, he hopes it would be soon. The terrain levels off a little and Kyle is nearing the mass of rock. He is sort of dazed, like a bad record. His mind is repeating how tired and hungry he is. It will not function on any other thought, it has been far too long since he had food. Kyle knows he should stop to rest a bit, as Kyle's alertness has vanished. He feels like an accident waiting to happen. Kyle plans to lie down to take a nap. Just as soon as he gets on top of those rocks, he will have a nice snooze. Kyle swings his stick as he walks, he jabs it in the ground in front of him. It almost slips out of his hand, it goes into a hole instead of hitting solid ground as it had the many times before. Kyle stops, his heart skips a beat, then it races for a few seconds. His next step would be into a mine shaft. It is partly covered with rotted plank and limbs. Is that a groan that he hears? It is very weak, it is as the wind makes. Yes, it is coming from below. Kyle drops to his knees, he can get a better look inside, then he stretches out on the ground with his face in the hole. He gazes into the dark hole, his eyes soon become accustomed to the darkness, then he sees a little light coming from the lower side. There lies a man, he has a pack on his back, and a rifle lies on the ground beside him, and he has a handgun in a holster on his side. The bottom is 15 feet below, it could be 20 feet. Kyle's judgment is very impaired, he is in such a state of hunger and fatigue. A sad fact flashes in Kyle's mind, it is vivid. If he helps this man, it could be the end of his freedom. It is a hard choice to make. If he leaves this man to die, his freedom will not mean a thing to him, he will not be able to live with himself, he will feel like the murderer that they think he is. Mister, it looks as if you need a little help. The man jerks. Kyle had startled him, he turns his head quickly and he looks up at Kyle. Your eyes have not tricked you, kid, no time in my life have I felt so helpless. I am Kyle Kip Kingsley. Is that shaft large enough to get you out through it? Perhaps I will need to haul you all the way up here. I am Alan Platt, I think it is plenty large, but you will have to be careful for snakes. I have a flashlight, it is in my pack, but in the shape I am in there is no way I can get it for you. My left leg is broken and my left arm is broken, it will be dangerous for you coming through that shaft, it is likely to have a rattler or two in it. The big problem is scaring them into you. You're right, Kyle, I had not thought of that fact. Let us hope there are none in there, but that is too much to hope for in these parts. I may need to kill them if there is not too many. I think I can manage, I have dealt with the varmints a little. Can you move under that ledge a bit? I need to remove this mess from the top here, and some of this could fall. I need to remove it to give us a little more light to see those snakes. You're a sharp kid, Kyle, that's a great idea. I need to move whether I think I can or not. Here goes. It may hurt a bit more, but after what I have been through, what is a bit more hurt? Kyle takes great care in its removal. That's great, Kyle, I feel better already. That was like climbing out of my coffin. I really did think I was a goner before you happened along. Betty, my wife, went to visit her sister for a few days, so no one knows I'm up here. I would have laid here and rotted off my bones before anyone would have found me. It takes a while for Kyle to find the shaft entrance, it is partly closed with rock and brush. Kyle finds two rattlers in the shaft. He drags one out and runs it off into the forest. The other one insisted on dying. It is set on slithering back to Alan. Kyle cannot take any chances. He might have to kill the stubborn varmint. It takes a little time and a few tricks, and he finally pulls the snake out and runs it into the woods, and he never hears the last of it from Alan. Alan cannot see the kid's point of view. Kyle not killing those snakes had Alan sort of upset.